We all remember at least two teachers from our days back at school. One that made us love the subject they were teaching, and one who had the complete opposite effect. Hello! Welcome to episode 4 of the series Powering SAP Developments with AI. I'm Mateusz, and I'll be your teacher, teaching you how to get AI to teach you whatever you want to be taught. But with focus on SAP developments, of course. Before we start though, let's take a quick look at the agenda of the series. We are now 4 episodes in, and this is the time we start getting our hands dirty with prompts and the productive use of Chat-GPT. Also, only last week I got access to Chat-GPT's new feature, conversation sharing, and I'm planning to make use of it here. The new feature lets me generate a link to the conversation I've had with Chat-GPT. I'll share this link with you in the comments section under the video, in case you want to see the full prompts and responses. So, just to set the scene, we all know how important constant upskilling in the world of SAP is. The technology and its advancements evolve at a radical pace. Keeping up with it is very difficult and it requires a lot of commitment. Finding the right materials, examples, practicing, and solving problems with the technology is demanding and very time-consuming. Unfortunately, we can't all study in a classroom environment where there is a tutor available to help with any questions we might have. This is where ChatGPT can be very useful. We can make it become our tutor for the topic we want to learn. For the purpose of today's session, we'll put ourselves in the shoes of many ABAP developers out there wishing to become S/4HANA ready. We will try to learn the all-new Restful ABAP Programming Model, in short, RAP. Throughout this session, I'll act as if I had absolutely zero experience with RAP. This should make it easy to follow and reproduce for everyone out there. Let's imagine that we've just overheard this new technology and wish to first find out what it is. We could simply ask ChatGPT, what is the new RAP model in S/4HANA? But having played with the tool a bit already, I know that we should make the prompts a bit more specific. So I suggest, explain ABAP Restful Programming Model to somebody coming from ECC ABAP background. Describe why it's better, what cases it should be used for, when it can be used, and what is needed to start using it. Also, suggest a learning path to master it. Disclaimer: please keep the knowledge cutoff date in the back of your heads. The data is valid as of September 2021. The answer that was provided is generally okay, but with some minor exceptions. First of all, there's no such thing as ABAP Platform 1909. It should reference S/4HANA 1909. Second, you also need ADT and Eclipse to build RAP services. I guess we will find out about it later. We could now ask it to elaborate on what we need to start, but this would already imply that we have some knowledge on the topic, so let's skip it for now. Instead, we will focus on the learning path. Basics of ABAP are clear to us. We're ABAP developers. CDS views? What the hell are they? I've heard this term somewhere, but never built one, so let's ask about this. OData services? Yes, we've built some code-based OData services, so I think we know what they are. RAP? Nonsense. I'm asking you to teach me, so obviously I have no clue what this is. SAP UI5 and Fiori, we know they're both on the front end. Let's leave it for now and focus on getting data out of the system instead. And also, it mentions that there are plenty of resources available. Well, what about you give me these resources, because that's what I'm asking you for. Now, let's ask it to elaborate on some of the topics. Thanks. Remember, be nice to AI. Just in case it takes over the world in a few years' time, let's hope it'll leave those that were polite behind. Thanks. I need to improve my knowledge of CDS views and ABAP RAP. Provide more information, links to useful resources like online training courses, webinars, blogs, etc. that are ranked the highest. Also, give me more detailed steps on how I should practice them. System setup and access, environment configuration, etc. As you can see, a lot of these are pretty generic. Learning Hub, OpenSAP, Udemy, link to SCN or SAP blogs. Yeah, of course I can search for them myself. I wanted exact links to recommended articles. It did a good job with books because it gave us two titles along with the authors, which is pretty okay. It also gave us some steps on how to practice, but these are rather pretty obvious. I'm not too happy with this, to be honest. Let's try one more thing then. Getting links to specific blogs or courses. For the purpose of this, I will use the new GPT-4 browse functionality and see if it finds anything good on the internet. I'll need to launch a new window to enable browsing, and also please remember to provide it with the necessary context, as context is window specific. Make a list of URLs to valuable blog posts and training courses on SAP Restful ABAP Programming Model and CDS views. They should be aimed at beginners and sorted by popularity and number of reviews and recommendations. As you can see, the first line already mentions that it couldn't fulfill all of my requirements, but this isn't the worst part. The worst part is that none of these links actually brought me to what they describe. They were either completely broken or brought me to a generic SAP samples GitHub repo or a generic BTP documentation page. Ah well, let's go back to the previous option without browsing enabled. The very first thing that I personally want to establish at this point is where the hell can I try any of this? I want an environment, so let's ask it to get that sorted. In the original response it provided, it mentions SAP Developer Center, which is the correct link for the downloads, but unfortunately none of the solutions has CDS views or wrap available. Let's then ask for an alternative. I want to get access to an open environment which supports CDS views and wrap, ideally for free. SAP Developer Center doesn't have a solution which would allow that. Are there any other options? Sure, we know nothing is free, but there is a trial account. Why couldn't we could avail of? And why doesn't it suggest that? Oh, that's interesting. I actually wasn't aware of this, but after checking it, unfortunately it is true. So, in order to get access, we would need to look into one of the four shown options: signing up to BTP, joining the Partner Edge program, hosting a third-party solution or a system, or joining SAP Learning Hub. As we know, getting access to a free SAP system in general is very difficult, so I wouldn't dwell too much on it here. Instead, let's assume that we do have a system that we could play around with in our organization. How do we start? Let's generate a sample program. Explain to me, step by step, how to build my first wrap-based service. Provide sample code snippets. As you can see, the answer got cut off. This is due to the limit of characters that OpenAI has for a single answer. You can see the rest of it by simply typing in continue. The 9-step guideline is pretty comprehensive and complete. Though we might have questions to specific steps or even lines of code, we can always ask it to provide more details or even another version. For example, in step 4, it provided an empty behavior implementation class and wrote that we can add code to handle validations and determinations. Let's ask it to write a simple validation. For example, let's validate that the author doesn't have any special characters in the name. If it does, the entry should not be saved. Add validation to the provided behavior implementation class to check if there are any special characters in the author field. If there are, the entry should not be saved. The result is actually more impressive than I expected. It not only provided the sample body of the class, but also mentioned that we need to define this validation hook in the behavior definition class. To sum up, the possibilities are endless. We can always ask it to explain an individual line of code or write a sample implementation. Please do not forget about two things here. One is knowledge cutoff date, September 2021, and number two, it is not flawless. In case you copy an example into your system and it fails while activating, let GPT know. Copy and paste the error message into the chat window and see what it comes up with. It's normally pretty spot on with its fix recommendations. This episode got a bit longer than I expected. I hope you don't mind, but I just wanted to make sure that I tickled your curiosity enough to start using it to learn new things. I'd love to hear your thoughts or personal experiences. Drop them in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you again next week.